You're listening to Mia Horror Stories, and today's story is My Babysitting Gig Came with a Terrifying Instruction Manual. The screen will stay completely black, letting your imagination do all the work. No visuals, no noise, just a story that creeps under your skin. Don't skip a second, because every detail builds to the chilling end you won't want to miss. The first weird thing was the lock. Not broken, just wrong. I had the key in the deadbolt, my thumb pressing the ridged brass like I'd done 1,000 times in other people's doorways, and it turned with this soft, buttery ease that made my stomach tighten. Deadbolts are supposed to argue with you a little. They're supposed to feel like a decision. This one rotated like the door had been waiting for me. Inside, the entryway smelled faintly of lemon cleaner, and something warmer underneath, like bread that had been toasted hours ago and forgot to leave. A narrow strip of light fell from the living room, cutting across the hardwood in a clean line. Somewhere deeper in the house, a smoke detector chirped once. Not the steady, change-me misery, just a single, lonely peep like it had tested its own voice. Then, a second sound, a phone vibrating on a counter. I shut the door behind me with my elbow and listened for footsteps. Nothing. No dog nails skittering. No adult voice calling, "We're in here." Just the low hum of a refrigerator and the distant, irregular sigh of an HVAC vent pushing warm air through old ducts. My phone buzzed again in my back pocket. Not theirs, mine. I pulled it out, thumb hovering, and saw a text I didn't remember receiving. "Mara, unknown number, you're inside. Good. Don't let him see you reading anything." I read it twice. The way you read something you're hoping will become a different sentence the second time. "Okay," I said out loud, because silence makes thoughts louder. My voice sounded too bright for the house. "I'm Elise Hart, 24, female, and I do this kind of work because it's the only thing I can schedule around classes and my other job without losing my mind. Babysitting, pet sitting, dog walking. Just be in the house while the plumber comes, all of it. I'm good with kids. I'm good at looking calm. I'm good at being the person other people hand their trust to for a few hours. I'm also good at catastrophizing quietly. My private flaw, my small, embarrassing fear that lives behind my teeth, is that I assume I'm the one who missed something. Wrong address, wrong day, wrong person. Every mistake is my fault until proven otherwise. It keeps me early, keeps me careful, keeps me exhausted. I stepped forward, and the hardwood gave a small, tired creak beneath my sneaker. The line of living room light expanded as I passed the archway. The house was tidy in a way that looked performed, throw pillows fluffed too symmetrically. Magazines stacked like they'd never been opened. A vase of eucalyptus on the coffee table that smelled sharp and medicinal when I walked past. On the couch, a little boy sat with his knees pulled up and a tablet balanced on his thighs. His hair was the color of dry grass, cut unevenly like someone had tried to do it at home. The screen reflected in his eyes, making them look shiny and far away. He didn't look up when I entered. He didn't startle. He didn't greet me. He just kept tapping, tapping, tapping with a patient little thumb. "Hey," I said softly, not wanting to spook him. "You must be," he glanced up, quick as a bird. His eyes were a flat gray blue that didn't match the warmth of the room. "Don't say my name," he said. It wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't cute. It was instruction, delivered like he'd been told to say it exactly that way. I stopped mid-step. "Okay. I'm Elise. I'm here to babysit." He stared at me a moment longer than felt normal, then looked back down at the tablet. "You're early," he said. "By 10 minutes, I admitted. "I can wait outside if—" "No." He said it like no meant don't make noise in the hallway. "Come in." The second weird thing was the table by the entry. There was an envelope on it, white and thick, with my name printed in neat block letters, ELISE. Not in cursive, not friendly, like a label. Under the envelope was a spiral-bound notebook with a black cover, the kind you get at an office supply store. On top of that sat a pen, placed perfectly parallel to the notebook's edge. The arrangement made my skin prickle. Not because it was scary, because it was deliberate. "Is that for me?" I asked, already reaching. The boy's head snapped up again. "Don't open it yet." "Okay." Pulled my hand back, tried to smile like I hadn't just been scolded by someone whose feet probably didn't touch the floor when he sat in a chair. "Sorry, house rules." He went back to his tablet. "Rules, yeah." My phone buzzed again. "Mara, unknown number. He knows you're here. Don't read it where he can see. Kitchen drawer has scissors if you need them. Don't use the pen." I stared at my screen until it dimmed and went dark. "Mara, unknown number. You're inside." Like she'd been watching my location. Like this was normal. Like I'd agreed to something that required stealth. I glanced toward the hallway that led deeper into the house. There was a staircase at the end, carpeted in a pale gray runner. On the wall beside it hung framed photos, generic landscapes, no faces, a lake, a mountain, a city skyline, the kind of art you buy because it matches the paint. "No pictures of family," I said before I could stop myself. The boy shrugged without looking up. "He doesn't like them." "Who's he?" I asked and immediately regretted it. The boy's thumb paused mid-tap. "Don't ask questions like that." I swallowed. "Okay, got it." A timer beeped somewhere, not loud. A small electronic chirp from the kitchen, like a microwave had finished warming something and was waiting politely to be acknowledged. The boy's shoulders tightened. He didn't move, but his posture changed, like a rabbit hearing brush move. "Is something cooking?" I asked. "No," he said quickly. "It's not for cooking." My mouth went dry. "What's it for then?" He lifted his eyes again, and this time he looked annoyed maybe, or tired, like an adult in a tiny body who'd had to explain the same thing too many times. "It's for reminders," he said, "so you don't forget." I didn't know what to do with that. So I did what I always do when I'm in someone else's home and the air feels slightly wrong. I oriented myself. I gathered harmless facts like they were anchors. "Okay," I said, keeping my tone light. "Do you want a snack?" "Your parents said." "They're not my parents," he said flatly. That landed like a coin dropped into a glass. The sound wasn't loud, but it rang. "I'm sorry," I said, softer now. "Who are they?" He hesitated. His thumb hovered over the tablet screen. For a second, he looked like he might answer me like a normal kid. Like he might complain about a stepdad, or a foster situation, or a grandma who made him eat peas. Instead, he said, "They're the people who live here." The HVAC vent exhaled again, and the eucalyptus smell mixed with something metallic, faint and sour, like a penny warmed in a palm. From upstairs, a floorboard popped. Not a footstep exactly, more like the house adjusting its weight, settling. The boy's eyes flicked toward the staircase. He pressed the tablet's power button so the screen went black, and he set it down carefully, as if sound mattered. "What was that?" I asked, and heard the thinness in my own voice. "Nothing," he said. Then, after a beat, "It's normal." I believed him the way you believe someone who has to live with a thing. Normal isn't always safe. Normal is just what you get used to. I looked back at the envelope and the notebook, sitting on the entry table like they'd been waiting for me all day. My phone buzzed once more. I didn't even want to look, but I did. Mara, unknown number. If you decide to leave, leave now. If you stay, read it. Quietly. You can still choose. My heart did a small, stupid jump like it wanted to be ahead of me. I stared at the text until the letters blurred a little. Choice. Leave now, stay and read. The boy was watching me again, not openly. He pretended to look at the dark tablet, but his eyes kept flicking up, measuring my face like he was reading a clock. Are you going? He asked. It wasn't pleading. It wasn't accusing. It was practical. Outside, a car passed on the street, tires hissing over wet pavement. Somewhere far away, a dog barked twice and stopped. The house held its breath between those sounds, full of warmth and cleanliness, and that single earlier chirp from the smoke detector like a tiny warning. I looked at the staircase. I looked at the envelope. I looked at the boy, small, rigid, acting older than he should. I started and realized my hands were shaking. Not much, just enough that my fingernails clicked lightly against my phone case. I could leave. I could pretend I'd never stepped inside. I could text the app, call the number from the listing, report weird vibes and bounce. Or I could do what I always did. Stay. Smooth it over. Assume the discomfort was just miscommunication I could manage. I set my phone down in my pocket, slowly, so he could see my hands were empty. Okay, I said. I'm staying. He watched me for a long moment. Then he nodded once, like I just signed something invisible. Then don't read it here, he said, and pointed not at the kitchen, but at a small doorway off the hall. Laundry room, door shuts. My throat tightened. I made myself breathe in through my nose. Lemon cleaner. Warm toasted something. A faint metallic tang. Right, I said, forcing steadiness into my voice. Laundry room. I stepped toward the envelope and the black notebook and picked them up. I took the envelope and the notebook into the laundry room and closed the door until the latch clicked. The sound was small but absolute, like a period at the end of a sentence. The room smelled like warm dust and detergent pods. A stacked washer-dryer hummed faintly, not running, just alive enough to remind me it existed. A bare bulb buzzed overhead, casting a tired yellow circle on the floor. There was a folding table bolted to the wall, its metal legs scuffed and bent like it had been kicked more than once. I slid the envelope open with my finger. Inside was a single folded sheet and a key card, the kind hotels use. White plastic, no label. The paper was heavier than normal printer stock. When I unfolded it, my pulse started tapping in my ears, not panic yet, just attention. Read this once. Memorize what you can, destroy after. Below that, numbered rules, tight, economical sentences. No jokes, no apologies. Do not leave the house between 7:10 p.m. and 7:40 p.m. At 7:15 p.m., lock the back door and place the kitchen chair under the handle. If the timer sounds more than once, something was done out of order. Fix it before the second sound ends. Do not use your phone flashlight. Overhead, lights only. If he asks you to help him hide, say no. Sit down instead. If you hear knocking from inside the house, do not answer it. If you hear knocking from outside the house, check the clock before you decide anything. If you decide to leave early, take the basement door, not the front. Do not write notes. Do not underline. Do not add rules. My stomach dropped on rule 8, basement door, like it was an exit people used often enough to specify. I checked my phone. 7:06 p.m. 4 minutes. My flaw kicked in hard then, the reflex to assume I'd already screwed something up just by existing in the wrong order. I read the list again faster, trying to burn it in, my eyes snagging on phrases like fix it before the second sound ends and decide anything. A muffled beep came through the door. The same polite chirp as before, but closer now, like it was just outside the room. 7:10. I folded the paper and slid it back into the envelope, my hands clumsy. I tucked the keycard into my pocket. The notebook stayed unopened. Something about the rules felt incomplete, like this page was a summary, and the notebook was the long version, the part you didn't read unless you'd already committed. I cracked the door and looked out. The boy was sitting on the couch exactly where I'd left him, hands folded in his lap now, tablet off. He looked up immediately. "You read it," he said. "Yeah," I said. "I did. Good." He glanced at the clock over the TV. "You're late for the chair." I checked again. 7:11, 4 minutes. He slid off the couch and padded into the kitchen barefoot, moving with purpose. I followed, heart ticking faster than the clock. The kitchen was clean to the point of sterility. Stainless steel counters. A single chair tucked neatly under the table. "Chair under the back door handle," he said, already dragging it across the tile. The legs screeched, sharp and loud. I flinched. "Okay," I said. "I've got it." He paused, looking at me like he was deciding whether to argue. Then he let go. The back door was glass with a metal handle that curved downward. I wedged the chair beneath it, adjusting until the top rung pressed snugly against the lever. It felt ridiculous, improvised, like something you'd do during a prank, not because it mattered. The timer chirped again. The boy froze. "That's twice," he said quietly. My chest tightened. "It hasn't," the chirp ended. Silence. He let out a breath. "Okay, it still counts, but we can fix it." "Fix what?" I asked. "You moved the chair after 7:10, he said, not accusing, stating. "I had 4 minutes, I said, and heard the edge in my voice. "The rule says, I know what it says." He looked at the clock again. 7:12. "We have 3 minutes. For what?" He hesitated, then said, "For the door." I followed his gaze. The back door glass reflected the kitchen light, showing our shapes layered over the dark yard. No movement outside, just a fence and a leafless tree. "What about the door?" I asked. "You have to check it," he said, "but not like you think." "Okay," I said carefully. "Tell me how." He nodded, like he'd been waiting for that. "You stand here, I stand there." He pointed to the edge of the kitchen near the pantry. "You don't touch the handle, you just look. That's it, yeah." This felt like the kind of instruction that only mattered because someone once did it wrong. I took my place. The overhead light hummed louder than before, or maybe I was just listening harder. I leaned forward slightly, peering at the door handle, the chair, the narrow gap between them. Everything looked normal. "I don't see anything," I said. "Good," he said. "Don't say that." I closed my mouth. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Instinct screamed at me to check it, to anchor myself to another adult voice, another reality. Rule 4 flashed in my mind. Do not use your phone flashlight. Overhead lights only. I left it there. The timer chirped again. The boy's face went pale. "That's bad." "What do we do?" I asked, my voice thin now. "We missed something," he said. "That means it's already happening." "What is?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the pantry door and opened it just enough to look inside. He didn't turn on the light. "Okay," he said. "It's not here yet." A sound came from upstairs then. Not footsteps, more like a chair being dragged slowly across carpet. Fibers protesting, then settling. My throat went dry. "Is someone else here?" I asked. "No," he said quickly, too quickly. Just stay in the kitchen." I wanted to leave. Every cell in my body leaned toward the front door, toward fresh air and streetlights and other people. But the rules had already wedged themselves into my thinking, turning choices into obstacles. "If I leave early," I said, "it says basement door." He looked at me sharply. "Don't." "Why?" "Because it's not early yet." Another noise upstairs. A dull thump this time, like something heavy being set down. The overhead light flickered once. I felt my composure start to crack. My private fear, being the one who caused this by missing a step, rose up hot and sharp. "Tell me what I did wrong," I said. "Please, I can fix it if I know." He studied me for a moment, really looked. Then he said, "You read it twice, didn't you?" My stomach sank. "How did you?" "That's not once," he said. "That makes the timing fuzzy." "That's not fair," I said, louder than I meant to. I was trying to be careful. "I know," he said, and there was something like sympathy there. "That's why it picked now." A knock came from inside the house, not from the front door, not from the back, from somewhere below us. 3 slow taps, wood on wood, patient. My phone vibrated again, harder this time, like it was desperate. The boy whispered, "Don't answer that." I backed away from the sound, my heel bumping the chair under the door. It shifted a centimeter, just enough. The overhead light went out. Darkness swallowed the kitchen, thick and immediate. In that black, the timer began to chirp again once, twice, and didn't stop. The darkness lasted maybe 2 seconds, long enough for my eyes to register the shape of the boy beside me, the pale oval of his face barely visible against the darker kitchen, and the timer chirping like an insect trapped in a jar. Then the overhead light snapped back on. The sudden brightness made my head swim. I grabbed the counter to steady myself, my palms slipping on stainless steel that felt colder than it should have. "Okay," I said, breathing hard. "Okay." Lights came back, "That's good." The boy didn't answer. He was staring at the back door. The chair had shifted. Not much, just enough that the top rung no longer pressed perfectly against the handle. The handle itself was angled down a few degrees, like someone had tested it and stopped. I started. "I know," he said. "It wasn't you." The timer chirped again. Shorter this time, more urgent. "Attempt 1, he said, like he was narrating something he'd done before. "We reset." "Reset how?" He moved fast, circling the kitchen island, bare feet whispering against tile. "We put everything back where it was supposed to be at 7:10. That time's already gone." "Doesn't matter," he said. "We just have to make it look right." I followed his lead, heart banging against my ribs. I nudged the chair back under the handle, pressing until the wood creaked. He adjusted the pantry door, pushing it flush with the frame. He straightened a dish towel that had slipped from the oven handle. "Why does this matter?" I asked. "Because it notices changes," he said, "not reasons." The sound upstairs came again, a dragging scrape, then a dull thud. Closer now, directly above the kitchen. My hands were shaking so badly I had to ball them into fists. "Is that a person?" He hesitated. Just a fraction too long. "It's someone who shouldn't be up there right now." That didn't help. The timer stopped chirping. We stood still, listening. The house made its normal noises, HVAC sighing, pipes ticking faintly in the walls. No footsteps, no dragging. "Did it work?" I whispered. "For now," he said, "but we lost time." How much? He checked the clock. 7:19 p.m. My phone buzzed again, insistent. Against my better judgment, I pulled it out. The screen lit my face like a confession booth. Mara, lights flickering means the circuit is overloaded. Don't reset the breaker unless you have to. If it goes fully dark, stay put. I think the power's unstable, I said, pocketing the phone. Old wiring, he nodded. That happens. It was the first normal explanation anyone had offered, and it almost made me laugh. Almost. The knock came again. Not 3 taps this time. One long, deliberate thump. From below, my stomach clenched. Rule 6, I said, knocking from inside. Don't answer. Yes, he said. But what? But it keeps knocking until someone moves. As if on cue, another thump reverberated through the floor, strong enough to rattle the silverware drawer. I backed into the counter, my hip catching the edge hard enough to make me gasp. Pain flared, sharp and hot, grounding me in my body. We can't just stand here, I said through clenched teeth. We need to do something. Attempt 2, he said quietly. We distract. With what? He pointed toward the living room. Noise where it expects noise. We moved together, slow and careful. The living room felt farther away than it had before, the hardwood creaking louder under our weight. I flicked on a lamp by the couch. Warm light pooled across the rug. Sit, he whispered. I sat. He grabbed the tablet from the couch and turned it on, the bright colors jarring in the dim room. He set the volume low, cartoon voices murmuring nonsense. The knock below paused. For a heartbeat, I thought it had worked. Then the upstairs noise changed. No more dragging. Now it sounded like footsteps, heavy ones, crossing the room above us. My skin prickled. That's not distraction, I said. That's escalation. The boy's jaw tightened. It means it heard us. A shadow passed the hallway entrance. Just a smear of darker dark against light, gone before my brain could label it. I sucked in a breath. I saw something. What? He asked, too fast. I don't know. Movement. He glanced toward the hallway, then shook his head. Air from the vents. Happens when the system kicks. It was plausible, annoyingly so, and I clung to it even as my pulse refused to slow. The tablet let out a sudden loud jingle and ad. I lunged for the volume, fumbling, my fingers slick with sweat. The sound cut off, but the damage was done. The timer chirped, long, loud. Okay, he said, voice tight. That didn't work. The overhead light flickered again, then went out. This time it stayed dark. The living room lamp remained on, but it felt inadequate, like a flashlight in fog. My phone vibrated once, then died. The screen went black. No, I whispered, tapping it uselessly. Dead. Battery drained from the flashlight earlier or something else. Stay put, he said, rule 4. But the kitchen, I know, he said. But if you move now, it'll hear the difference. Another knock from below. Faster now, impatient. My nerves felt flayed. Every sound scraped. My hip throbbed where I'd hit the counter. My throat burned from breathing too fast. Tell me the truth, I said, please. What happens if we don't fix this? He swallowed. It comes up. A new sound joined the chaos, the front door handle rattling. I nearly screamed before he grabbed my wrist hard enough to hurt. That's not it, he said urgently. That's just, the rattling stopped. A voice called out, muffled through the door. Hello, police. Anyone home? Relief hit me so hard my eyes stung. Thank God, I breathed. And no, he said, panic flashing across his face for the first time. You can't open that. They're police, I said. Real people. That's worse, he said, because they won't leave. The knocking from below grew frantic, a rapid series of thumps now, like fists on wood. Upstairs, Footsteps rushed toward the stairs. The geography of the house snapped into my head all at once. The kitchen behind us, living room here, hallway leading to the stairs, basement door off that hall. Rule 8 burned in my mind. If you decide to leave early, take the basement door, not the front. I looked at the boy. He was shaking now, shoulders hunched, eyes bright with unshed tears. We're out of options, I said. This is attempt 3. He shook his head. It's not early anymore. The police knocked again, louder. Ma'am, we received a call about a disturbance. A call. From who? The upstairs footsteps hit the top of the stairs. The basement door creaked. And then, with a soft mechanical click I felt more than heard, the front door deadbolt slid into place. Locked. The house had decided. There's no going back now, the boy whispered. And the timer, relentless, began to chirp again. The basement door was already open. Not wide, just enough to breathe out a ribbon of cold air that smelled like concrete and old cardboard. The hinges gave a tired, complaining creak as it moved another inch on its own, the sound swallowed quickly by the house. The boy stood frozen beside me, eyes locked on the dark rectangle below. It's up, he said, not loud, certain. The timer chirped again, then stopped. Silence pressed in, thick enough to feel. The police knocked harder at the front door. Ma'am, we need you to respond. Upstairs, something shifted its weight on the top step. A foot, careful testing. I grabbed the boy's hand before I could think better of it. His fingers were ice cold, rigid, but he didn't pull away. We're going down, I said. Now. That's not the rule, he whispered. It says if you decide to leave early, I said. We're leaving. It's early enough for me. The house answered for him. The overhead light in the hallway flicked on just that one, casting a harsh cone down the stairs to the basement, like a stage cue. The upstairs footstep came again. One step down. I pushed the boy gently, but firmly toward the basement. Go. He hesitated, eyes darting toward the front door as the police called out again, more urgent now, toward the stairs above us, where a shadow detached itself from the wall and became a shape. Human, definitely human. A man, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with a deliberate slowness that made my stomach twist. He wore socks, not shoes, a sweatshirt with the hood down. I could see the pale oval of his face in the half-light, his eyes fixed not on me, but on the boy. You're late, he said calmly. The sound of his voice broke something open in the kid. He bolted. I followed, pain screaming through my hip as I half fell, half ran down the basement stairs, dragging the door shut behind us with a hard yank. The latch caught with a sharp click that felt like a victory, until a fist slammed into the door from the other side. Once, twice. Open it, the man said, still calm. You're making it worse. The basement light buzzed to life overhead, revealing a low-ceilinged room cluttered with storage shelves, plastic bins, and a narrow exterior door at the far end. Keypad was mounted beside it. The keycard burned in my pocket like a secret I'd forgotten to use. The boy was shaking so hard I had to crouch in front of him to keep him focused. Hey, look at me. He did. Tears streaked silently down his face. He's not supposed to talk, he whispered. Not before 7:40. Another ooh-da air against the door. Harder this time. The wood bowed inward with a crack like a gunshot. I pulled the keycard out and swiped it at the basement door. Red light. Locked. Shit, I breathed. Okay. My flaw rose up again, vicious and familiar. You missed something. You always miss something. The rules: memorize, destroy. Rule 8, basement door, not the front. Rule 9, don't add rules. I looked at the keypad. Numbers worn smooth, no letters. What's the code? I asked. He shook his head frantically. I'm not allowed to know it. The basement door shuddered as the man leaned his weight against it. The latch groaned. You don't have to do this, he called through the door. You can sit down. That's the rule, right? The boy clapped his hands over his ears. The police were shouting now, muffled but insistent. Someone pounded on the front door hard enough that the sound carried even down here. The house felt like it was vibrating between two authorities, both of them wrong. The keypad beeped softly as I pressed a number. Wrong, another, wrong again. The man laughed, a soft huff of amusement. I slammed my hand against the wall in frustration, pain shooting up my arm, and then I saw it. Laminated card taped crookedly to the side of a shelf, mostly hidden behind a bin of Christmas decorations. Faded, greasy with fingerprints. Circuit reset panel, a slash panel B below it, handwritten in marker. 740740. Not a code, a reminder. The lights flickered. The basement door behind us cracked open at the top as the latch began to give. Go sit, the man said, voice sharp now. Last warning. I grabbed the fire extinguisher off the wall without thinking. Heavy. Solid. Cover your ears, I told the boy. He dropped to the floor, hands clamped tight. I turned and discharged the extinguisher straight at the door. White powder exploded into the air, choking and blinding, filling the narrow space. The man shouted, coughing, swearing, as the door burst open, and he stumbled back a step, blinded. I didn't hesitate. I charged. The extinguisher connected with his shoulder, not his head, bone on bone, the impact jarring my arms painfully. He grunted, staggered, but didn't fall. Too big, too strong. He swung blindly and caught me across the face with the back of his hand. Light detonated behind my eyes. I went down hard, the world tilting. The boy screamed. The man loomed over me, powder caked in his beard, eyes red and furious. You broke the order, he snarled. I tasted blood, felt something warm trickle from my eyebrow. Behind him, the basement door light flicked from red to green. I kicked. My heel connected with his knee at a bad angle. He yelped, buckled, instinctively grabbing for balance. Now, I screamed. The boy scrambled to the door, fumbling with the handle. It opened. Cold night air rushed in, sharp and clean. Sirens wailed somewhere close. The man lunged after him, limping, reaching. I slammed the extinguisher into his side again. He went down this time, crashing into the shelves, plastic bins raining down around him. I grabbed the boy and shoved him through the door, following close behind. We spilled out into the backyard, wet grass soaking my jeans, the fence looming ahead. The police were already coming around the side of the house, flashlights cutting through the dark. Real ones this time. I collapsed, breath tearing out of me in ragged sobs. I couldn't stop. The boy sat beside me, shaking, powder still clinging to his hair like snow. Inside the house, the timer chirped one last time. Then it stopped. The paramedic cleaned the cut above my eyebrow with practiced efficiency, the sting sharp enough to make me hiss. He apologized without looking at me, already moving on to tape gauze in place. Someone else checked my pupils with a penlight. Someone asked me my name, the date, where I was. I answered automatically, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. The boy sat on the back step, wrapped in a foil blanket that crackled every time he shifted. An officer crouched in front of him, speaking gently, asking questions that were designed to feel optional. He answered some. Others he ignored, staring instead at the dark rectangle of the basement door like it might open again if he blinked. Police lights painted the side of the house red, then blue, then red again. Neighbors stood at the edges of their lawns in slippers and hoodies, pretending to look at their phones while watching everything. The man was taken out on a stretcher, not unconscious, just restrained, jaw tight, eyes tracking the boy as they wheeled him past. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like someone who'd lost control of a system that had always worked for him before. I caught the boy's eye as they rolled the stretcher by. His face stayed blank, but his shoulders relaxed a fraction once the ambulance doors closed. Inside the house, officers moved carefully, documenting. One of them came out holding the spiral notebook in an evidence bag. The black cover was scuffed now, white powder smeared along one edge. "What's this?" he asked me. I shook my head. "Instructions." He waited, pen hovering. "For surviving the evening," I added. He wrote something down that I couldn't read. At the hospital, the fluorescent lights were too bright, the waiting room too quiet. My hip had already begun to stiffen, the bruise blooming deep and ugly under my jeans. The doctor told me I'd likely have a mild concussion. Rest. No screens. Someone would call me tomorrow. They let me leave with a paper wristband still cutting into my skin and a headache that pulsed in time with my heartbeat. Outside, my phone finally powered back on. A dozen notifications bloomed across the screen. Missed calls from the babysitting app, a voicemail from a blocked number. I listened to it sitting in my car, engine off, windows fogging with my breath. Mara's voice was calm, tired. "You did what you could," she said. "That matters. Don't go back. If anyone asks, you never saw the notebook." The call ended. No callback number. I stared at the dark windshield until my reflection blurred. The next morning felt almost normal, which was the strangest part. Sunlight through my kitchen window. Coffee tasting like coffee. My body sore but intact. I showered carefully, wincing as water hit the bruise on my hip, the tape on my eyebrow tugging at skin. I tried to fold laundry and realized my hands were shaking. The police called around noon. A woman this time. She told me the man was the boy's legal guardian, that there had been prior reports, noise complaints, a wellness check that found nothing actionable, that the house had been fitted with an elaborate internal alarm system and smart locks under the guise of home security. Control, she said, not unkindly. That's what he called it. The boy was in temporary care. A caseworker would be in touch if they needed further testimony. After I hung up, I sat on the floor with my back against the couch and let myself cry. Quietly, efficiently, like it was another task to complete. A week later, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was my spare house key, the one I'd handed over to the app for emergencies, and a check for the full night's pay plus a little extra. No note, no explanation. I didn't cash it. I deleted the babysitting app from my phone. Then, after a pause, reinstalled it just long enough to block the address. The house still appeared on the map, a small blue pin in a quiet neighborhood. No warning attached. Sometimes, when I wake up at night, I listen for timers, for a chirp that doesn't belong to anything I own. Sometimes I get up and check my doors anyway, just to be sure they're locked the way I left them. I think about the boy often, about the way he knew the rules without ever needing to read them, about how quickly he ran when given permission. Once, while folding towels, I found white dust in the seam of my jacket pocket. Fire extinguisher powder ground in deep. I brushed it away, but the smell lingered faintly, chemical and clean. Ordinary life resumed around me. Classes, work, friends asking why I had a scar on my eyebrow. I told them I slipped. I don't tell them about the notebook, about the way a house can learn your habits, about how easy it is to mistake order for safety. Every so often, I check the time at 7:10 p.m. without meaning to, just to see. The shadows fade for now, but the stories never end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and join our community of horror lovers. If you're hungry for more, check out the next video. Just remember, the scariest part is often the one you don't see coming. Hey friends, it's your girl Mia. This is Mia Horror Stories. And tonight's story, my reflection blinks a second later than I do, is told in darkness. The screen will stay black, so you can simply listen, imagine, and feel every moment without distraction. Trust me, the build-up matters, and the ending is where the real chill hides. So don't look away, and don't leave early. The first time it happens, I'm already irritated. Not scared. Not even curious in a clean, science fair way. Just irritated, the way you get when your phone stutters on a video call, and you can't tell if it's your Wi-Fi or the other person's cheap router. I'm leaning over the bathroom sink in my Airbnb in Southwark, London, trying to tame the collar of a button-down that refuses to sit right. The bathroom is one of those narrow city ones where everything is glossy white and slightly too close together. Sink, toilet, shower door, like the architect wanted to see if adults could be folded. The exhaust fan hums with a tired bearing. Somewhere in the building, a washing machine thumps like a slow heartbeat. Through the frosted window, I can hear the city's distant traffic, softened and constant, with the occasional bright, wet squeal of a bus braking in the rain. I raise my eyebrows at myself, just checking, just making sure I look like someone who knows where he's going. My eyebrows go up. A beat later, half a beat, they go up again. Not mine, the other ones, the ones behind the glass. Blink instinctive, quick, dry air. Contact lens scrape. My reflection blinks too, late. It's subtle enough that my mind tries to edit it away. Like, no, that can't be right. The fan is buzzing, you're jet-lagged. The light above the mirror is that cheap LED that flickers and makes everybody's skin look slightly green. There are a million reasons for a sense of off. So I do what any reasonable person does when something feels off, but still explainable. I test it. Blink once. My eyelids close. Open, the reflection closes. Opens, a fraction behind. I lean closer until my nose almost touches the mirror. I can see the tiny freckles across my cheekbone. I can see where I missed a patch shaving yesterday. I can see the faint scratch in the glass near the bottom left corner, like someone once hit it with a watch buckle. Blink again. Late again. The air in the bathroom smells faintly of lemon cleaner and the cheap eucalyptus soap the host leaves in a little wire basket. I can hear my own breath, suddenly too loud in the tile box. Okay, I say out loud, because saying things out loud makes them behave. It's a rule. Okay, it's the light. I reach up and flip the bathroom switch off. Darkness. The fan dies. For half a second, there's only the distant city noise and the gentle trickle of the radiator cooling. I flip it back on. The light returns with a faint strobe, like it's waking up. I stare. My reflection stares back. A little too precisely. I blink. It lags. A neat 1 second delay would be obvious. A full second would be cartoonish. This is worse. This is the kind of delay that makes you doubt yourself, that leaves room for your own brain to argue you down. I'm still staring when my phone vibrates on the counter, skittering slightly on the glossy surface. LUCAS, one new message. I swipe it without looking away from the mirror. You up? Another buzz. We're leaving in 20. You still coming, or are you bailing on me like Berlin? I exhale through my nose, almost a laugh, and finally look down. That's the thing about Lucas. He makes you remember you're a person with a schedule. He yanks you back into the normal world by force. I type with my thumb, not bailing. Give me 30. Also, this bathroom light is garbage. He replies immediately, as if he's been holding the phone. Everything in London is garbage except the pubs. Hurry. I set the phone down and look up again, because I can't help myself. This time, I try to catch it. I stare straight into my own pupils. I blink slowly, deliberately, like I'm in a relaxation video. My eyelids lower. My reflection's eyelids lower late. My stomach does a small, practical dip, like it does when you step off a curb you thought was there, and it is. I pull the phone up again and open the camera. If it's a flicker in the bathroom light, the camera should show it. If it's my brain, the camera should show nothing. I switch to the front-facing camera and hold it up, framing myself and the mirror so I can see both. Me in the phone, me in the glass. I blink. The phone version blinks with me. Clean, synced. The mirror version blinks late. My skin prickles across my forearms, not in a horror movie way, more like when the heater kicks on unexpectedly and you realize you weren't actually warm. I lower the phone. The mirror looks normal again, except it is. It's me, but it's also a surface with rules I suddenly don't trust. I swallow. Jet lag, I tell myself quieter. Lead flicker, whatever. I step away from the sink and into the bedroom, as if physical distance can solve a technical problem. The airbnb is small but tidy. A narrow double bed with a gray duvet. A little desk with a kettle and 2 mugs. A single framed print of Tower Bridge that looks like it came from a hotel clearance sale. My suitcase is half open on the floor, clothes folded in a way that suggests I had optimism at the beginning of this trip. I'm in London for work, sort of. Not official. A conference that's adjacent to my work, which means my employer can pretend they didn't pay for it, and I can pretend it isn't exhausting. I tell people I came because it's good networking. The truth is I came because sitting alone in my apartment in Seattle after a breakup felt like keeping vigil over my own life, and I needed noise and strangers and a reason to put on shoes. And because Lucas, my oldest friend, my favorite pain, texted me 3 months ago, "Come to London. I'll be there. We'll do it right this time." Berlin was not right. Berlin was a week of Lucas going out every night and me saying I would join in a bit, and then lying awake, scrolling, listening to the hallway outside my hostel and thinking someone was going to turn the knob. I don't tell people that part. I tell them I get travel anxiety, like it's charming, like it's a quirky preference for routine. My private fear is simpler and uglier. I don't trust doors, especially when I'm somewhere unfamiliar. I don't trust what's on the other side, and I don't trust that the lock will hold, and I don't trust my own ability to stay calm if something goes wrong. I pull on my coat anyway, because Lucas is waiting, and because I'm 32 and tired of arranging my life around fear, like it's the most important person in the room. On my way out, I pass the bathroom again. I pause. Of course I do. The mirror is still there, glossy and ordinary, with the light humming above it. The sink is still clutter-free. The soap still sits in its wire basket like a prop. I stand in the doorway and look at myself from a distance, framed by the tile and the narrow space. I blink. It looks normal. I step closer. I blink again. Late. My heart doesn't race. It doesn't do anything dramatic. It just becomes very present, like a coworker suddenly standing too near your desk. I could leave it. I could decide it's an electrical flicker and go meet my friend and drink beer and laugh about how British outlets are weird. I could choose the normal life where the mirror is a mirror and my brain stops trying to solve it. Or I could do what I always do when something feels wrong. Check the lock, check the hinge, check the angle. Find the reason. Prove to myself it's explainable. I stare at the mirror's edge. There's a seam where it meets the wall. A bead of caulk. A slightly uneven line like it was installed in a hurry. I reach out and press my fingertips to the glass. It's cool, not cold. I blink. Late. My fingers stay there. I feel the faint vibration of the fan through the wall, the building alive with other people's mornings. Somewhere, someone laughs briefly and shuts a door. The sound is muffled, but it makes my shoulders tighten anyway. My phone buzzes again. LUCAS. I'm downstairs. Don't make this weird. I stare at the message, then at my own eyes in the mirror, trying to decide which reality gets priority. If I go now, I'm choosing to ignore it. If I stay, I'm choosing to be alone in a stranger's bathroom with a mirror I don't trust, while my friend waits outside in the rain. My thumb hovers over the keyboard. I can feel the choice like a fork in the day, small, stupid, and somehow heavy. I type, "Give me 5." I dropped something, and before I can talk myself out of it, I turn back toward the bathroom cabinet beneath the sink, kneel down, and reach for the handle. Because if there's a rational explanation, it's going to be in the cheap wiring, or the loose fixture, or whatever this place is hiding in plain sight. And if there is, well, then I want to know that now, not later. The cabinet under the sink groans when I pull it open, like it's offended to be involved. A spare roll of toilet paper, a plastic bin of cleaning stuff, 2 tiny hotel shampoos, and wedged in the back like it's hiding an extension cord and a chunky white power strip. The kind with a red rocker switch that always feels slightly loose under your thumb. I stare at it longer than I need to, because it's something. A rational culprit. A place where weird light could become bad connection, and bad connection could become drop it, fix it, move on. My phone vibrates again on the counter. LUCAS, 5, you said 30. What are you doing up there performing surgery? Just, I mutter, though he can't hear me, just not losing my mind. I pull the power strip out. The cord snakes behind the vanity, disappearing into a hole someone drilled too small. I tug gently. It doesn't want to move. I tug harder. Something shifts with a soft scrape in the wall. The bathroom light flickers. Not a strobe, more like a blink. For a half second, the mirror is a darker rectangle, and my reflection in it becomes a shallow, warped shadow. And in that half second, my reflection doesn't match my posture. It's tiny. It's just my shoulder angle. My right shoulder is a little higher, like I'm bracing for something, except I'm not. I'm kneeling, hand on a cord, breath held like a person working around electricity. Then the light steadies, and my reflection is me again. I freeze with the power strip in my hand. The rational part of my brain scrambles for explanations. The flicker, the angle, my own micro movement not registering. Simple. But my pulse has already decided this is a threat. It thumps in my throat, turning my swallow into a noisy, deliberate action. I set the power strip down on the tile and follow the cord with my eyes. The hole behind the vanity is rough-edged. There's a faint brownish halo around it, like humidity has been working on it for a while. The cord disappears into darkness, and the darkness looks used, like someone has been in there, like it's not just a dead cavity. Behind me, the front door of the flat clicks softly, then doesn't open. It's the sound of a key testing a lock. My whole body tightens. I hold my breath and listen. Another click, then a scratch, metal on metal, small and patient. Someone is trying the door. My brain immediately offers the most comforting option, Lucas, being dramatic. But Lucas doesn't have the key, and he's downstairs. And even if he did, he'd be hammering on the door like a normal, annoying person. The clicks continue, slow, controlled, like whoever's out there knows what they're doing. I crawl to the bathroom door and kill the light with the switch. Darkness. The fan dies again. The washing machine thump in the building becomes louder without the hum masking it. The clicking at the front door stops. A beat. Then a sound I don't like at all. Something flat sliding into the gap near the latch. A card. A strip of plastic. A tool, not supernatural, not a ghost, just a person who's done this before. My mouth dries out instantly. My palms go slick. And the old fear, the one I dress up as travel anxiety, spikes so hard it feels like nausea. Doors, locks, unknown hallways. Being in a place where you can't tell what's normal behavior and what's a problem until it's already inside your space. I back up silently until my shoulder hits the bathroom wall. My phone is on the counter in the dark. I can't see it. I reach for it anyway, fingers patting tile, then porcelain, then the edge of the sink. The front door handle turns gently, not rattling, just testing. My fingers close around my phone. Screen flares bright in the darkness, a slap of blue-white light. And there I am again, on the lock screen camera preview, as it wakes my face reflected in the black glass for a split second. Not the mirror, the phone itself. My eyes look too wide, my jaw clenched. I swipe, hands clumsy, and call Lucas. He answers on the second ring, breathless, like he's been pacing under the building's awning. "What?" he says. "Are you alive? I'm getting soaked." "Someone S at the door," I whisper, immediately annoyed at myself for whispering, as if volume will summon them. "They're trying the lock." A pause. Then Lucas's voice shifts, less teasing, more alert. "Are you sure it's the right door? Like neighbor cleaner?" "No," I say. "They're Lucas, they're carding it." Another pause, and I hear movement on his end, footsteps maybe, or the muffled echo of a stairwell. "Okay," he says. "Okay, don't do anything stupid. Put something against it." There's no time. My eyes dart to the bathroom mirror, a faint rectangle in the darkness. I can still just make out my shape. "What do I do?" "Call the police," Lucas says. Now, my thumb hovers. I've never dialed emergency services in the UK. My brain trips on the number. 999, 112. My mind wants the comfort of 911, the familiar rhythm. The door handle turns again harder. The latch clicks like it's about to give. Lucas says my name sharp. "Ethan, police." Now, I punch 999. It rings. Once. Twice. A calm recorded voice answers, then a human voice. "Emergency." Which service do you require? Police, I blurt, and my voice sounds foreign to me. Too loud, too thin. The operator's questions come measured and procedural. Address, flat number, what's happening? Are they inside? Are you alone? I give the address off the Airbnb listing, stumbling over the postcode. My hands shake so hard the phone taps my teeth when I bring it too close. They're trying to get in, I say. Right now. Stay on the line, she says. Officers are being dispatched. Can you secure yourself in a room? I'm in the bathroom, I say, and it sounds ridiculous even as I say it. Like a sitcom, like a person who would get mocked. The latch clicks. The door opens a fraction, just enough that the hallway light spills into the flat in a narrow wedge. Then it stops, caught by the chain. Thank God for chains. The chain goes taut with a metallic snap that hits my bones. Whoever's out there yanks once, testing. Twice harder. The door buckles inward a centimeter. The chain holds, but I hear the screws complain in the frame. A voice from the hallway says, muffled through wood, "Hello, maintenance." It's too smooth, too late, like they remembered the line and decided to try it. I don't answer. I press my back against the bathroom wall and stare at the mirror's dark rectangle, because my brain, in crisis, wants to see itself, wants confirmation that I exist, that I'm really here. The mirror catches the sliver of hallway light now. My reflection is faint, grainy. I blink, fast, panicked. My reflection blinks after, late. But this time it isn't subtle. This time it's like watching a bad video sync. My eyes close and open, and in that tiny gap, my reflection stays staring, eyes open, watching me blink. I inhale, sharp, and the sound is loud in the small space. The operator's voice continues in my ear, steady, grounding. Do not confront them. Do not open the door. Can you tell me if you can see them through the gap? Through the gap. I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. The rational part of me knows that putting your eye near a door is how you get stabbed or sprayed or worse. But my flaw, the thing Lucas calls my need to know, kicks in. If I can see what's happening, it becomes manageable. If I can name the threat, I can survive it. I edge out of the bathroom on socked feet, moving like the floor might squeak. The wedge of hallway light makes the living area look staged. Gray duvet, kettle, tower bridge print, my half-open suitcase. Like a set dressing for a story that's about to go wrong. The chain on the door trembles as the person outside pulls again. I crouch by the door, careful, heart hammering, and angle my head toward the gap, keeping my face back, trying to see with one eye. I catch a slice of the hallway beyond, beige carpet runner, white walls, someone's feet in dark shoes. A hand comes into view, holding something flat and black. Not a card. A small pry tool, maybe. Or the handle of a screwdriver. Hand moves with calm purpose toward the chain. And then, from downstairs in the building, there's a sudden shout, Lucas's voice, muffled but unmistakable. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" The hand freezes. The person outside jerks backward, out of my narrow view. For one bright second, relief floods me. Lucas is here. There's a witness. They'll run. It's over. Then the hallway erupts in movement, fast footsteps, a thud, a curse. Lucas again, closer, strained. And a new sound cuts through everything. A sharp crack like plastic snapping under pressure. The chain on my door jerks violently. The screws rip partway out of the frame, wood splintering. The door lurches inward another few centimeters, and in the mirror behind me, caught in the wedge of light, I see my reflection's face turn toward the door before I do, as if it heard something I didn't, as if it knew the next move. The operator's voice goes distant. My phone slips in my sweaty hand. I'm stuck between two instincts: hold the door or run. And then the chain gives a little more, and I realize the choice has just been made for me. The chain finally snaps with a sound like a bottle cap tearing off. The door doesn't fly open. It sags inward, crooked on its hinges, the chain hanging uselessly from the frame with two screws half out, bent like teeth. Whoever's outside doesn't rush in right away. That's worse. It means they're listening. I scramble backward on my hands, phone clattering against the floor, my heel skidding on tile as I retreat toward the bathroom. The operator is still talking my name, I think, but her voice is thin and distant, like it's coming through a wall. Police are 2 minutes out, she says, or maybe it's 30 seconds. Time is useless now. From the hallway comes Lucas's voice again, louder, breathless. Hey, you don't want to do this. There's another voice this time. Close, calm, male. It's fine, mate. Just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding with a pry tool and a broken chain. I slam the bathroom door shut and twist the flimsy lock. It clicks into place with no confidence at all. I drag the laundry hamper, empty, wicker across the floor and wedge it under the handle like it's going to do anything. My chest hurts. Not sharp pain, but pressure, like I've been holding my breath for too long without realizing it. The mirror is directly across from me. I can't not look at it. Even now, my reflection is pale, eyes darting, mouth slightly open. I look like a person who is about to make a bad decision. I blink. Late. A second attempt, panicked. Late again. I tear my gaze away and scan the bathroom like it's a puzzle room. Shower stall, toilet, sink, cabinet. Frosted window above the toilet, too high and too narrow to squeeze through even if I wanted to shatter it and bleed out into the street. The building creaks as someone runs down the stairs outside the flat. Lucas, maybe. Or the other guy. I hear a thud, a sharp inhale. Lucas swears. Get off me, he says, strained. What the hell is wrong with you? The bathroom door rattles as something bumps into it from the other side. I flinch back, heart hammering, and the hamper shifts uselessly. First attempt, hide and wait. I crouch on the tub edge, phone pressed to my ear, whispering answers to the operator's questions while trying not to make noise. She asks if I can see the intruder. I say no. She asks if I'm injured. I say no, though my knee throbs where I hit the tile. The rattling stops. Silence swells in the flat, thick and unnatural. The washing machine somewhere below finishes its cycle with a chime that sounds offensively cheerful. Seconds stretch. My shoulders begin to shake, not sobbing, just the tremor of adrenaline with nowhere to go. My jaw aches from clenching. I risk leaning forward, pressing my ear to the door. I hear breathing, close, on the other side of the thin wood. Not hurried, not angry, waiting. Hide and wait isn't working. Whoever this is knows where I am. Second attempt, barricade and signal. I pull back and scan again. My eyes land on the power strip on the floor, cord still snaking into the vanity wall. An idea sparks, desperate, probably stupid, but something. If I can kill the power, maybe plunge the flat into darkness, maybe by confusion. Or at least make noise. Make it messy enough that they don't want to stick around. I crawl to the cabinet, fingers fumbling with the power strip. The red switch feels loose, like it's been flipped too many times. I glance at the mirror as I reach. My reflection's arm lifts before mine does. Not by much, a fraction, but enough that my stomach flips. I slam my eyes shut, flip the switch blind. The bathroom light cuts out. So does the hallway light beyond the door. The flat goes dim, except for the gray morning leaking through the frosted window. From outside the bathroom, there's a startled curse. The breathing shifts. Footsteps retreat a step. Then something else happens. A low hum starts up behind the wall. Not the fan, deeper, electrical, like a transformer waking up. The mirror catches the faint light from the window, and my reflection wavers, rippling slightly, as if the glass is flexing. My heart slams so hard it hurts. Then the hum resolves into something painfully ordinary, the refrigerator kicking back on after a brief outage. The kettle's standby light glowing faintly on the desk. The terrifying thing is explainable. Electrical surge. Bad wiring. Nothing more. I let out a shaky breath that turns into a laugh that almost becomes a sob. The bathroom door handle jiggles. Harder this time. The lock clicks, then gives a little. I realize, too late, that killing the power didn't trap them. It trapped me. Took away my ability to see, to orient, to think. I shove the hamper harder into the door as it bows inward. The operator's voice sharpens in my ear. "Sir, officers are on the landing. Can you hear them?" And then I do boots on stairs, radios crackling, shouted commands muffled by walls. Relief floods me so fast my knees go weak. "Police," someone yells from the hallway. Step away from the door. The pressure on the bathroom door vanishes. The silence that follows is different, less predatory, more chaotic. I sag against the tub, breath coming in ragged pulls, phone slipping from my ear to my chest. I did it, I waited. I didn't open the door. It's over, except it is. Because then there's a different sound, glass breaking. Not inside the bathroom, somewhere else in the flat. A crash followed by the sharp tinkle of shards hitting hard floor. The bedroom window. My blood goes cold, not in a poetic way, but in a practical one. A sudden awareness of how many exits this flat actually has. "Ethan," Lucas's voice echoes from the hallway, distant now, urgent. "They're running. They went through your bedroom." The operator is still talking, but I'm already moving, adrenaline dragging me to my feet. I unlock the bathroom door and yank it open. The living area is dim, gray with rainlight. The front door hangs crooked, chain dangling uselessly. A police officer is pressed against the wall by the door, weapon drawn, eyes flicking between me and the bedroom. "Sir, stay where you are," he says. But I can see it already. The bedroom window is shattered inward, curtains fluttering in the wet air. Rain espiciclas the carpet. My suitcase lies tipped over, clothes strewn like a dropped hand of cards. "They went that way," Lucas shouts from the stairwell, "down the fire escape." The officer curses and takes off, boots pounding. I stand there shaking, every muscle buzzing, the delayed crash of fear hitting all at once. Another officer approaches me, hands up calm. "Are you injured?" Shake my head, then nod, then shake it again. Words don't work. He guides me to the sofa, sits me down like I might float away. The mirror in the bathroom catches my eye from across the flat. In the brighter light now, it looks normal, just glass, just me. I blink. Perfect sync. My breath slows a fraction. The officer talks. Lucas appears at my side, face flushed, a scrape on his cheek I hadn't noticed before. He grips my shoulder too hard, grounding and painful and real. "They're gone," he says. "You're okay." But then one of the officers returns from the bedroom, holding something between two fingers. "Sir," he says to me, "is this yours?" It's the black pry tool, or part of it. The handle is snapped clean off, plastic sheared, like it was twisted too hard. and wrapped around the broken end is a thin strip of white plastic. Familiar. My eyes flick, unbidden, to the bathroom cabinet, to the power strip, to the extension cord disappearing into the wall. The officer continues, oblivious to the way my pulse spikes again. We found this caught on the window latch. Looks like it broke when they forced it. I nod automatically, but my brain is racing now, mapping connections I don't want to see. If they broke in through the door, why smash the window? If they ran, why leave a tool behind? And how did they know exactly where to go in a flat they'd never seen? The officer asks another question. I don't hear it. All I can think about is the cord behind the vanity. Used darkness in the wall. The way the mirror lagged worst right before things went wrong. And the realization settles, heavy and irreversible. Whatever just happened isn't done with me yet. And now the police are here. Lucas is here. The flat is compromised. I can't just leave and pretend none of this matters. Because something about this place, about that mirror, that wiring, that door, has already let the wrong thing in. And retreat isn't an option anymore. We don't go to the pub. Lucas says we should, says sitting somewhere loud, and normal will reset my brain. But when the second officer finishes taking my statement, his tone shifts into that careful, official calm that means this is a problem you don't understand yet. Yeah, he asks, looking at the crooked door, the broken chain, the wet carpet by the bedroom window. Yeah, I say. My voice sounds like it belongs to someone else. You need to contact the host, and you should not stay here tonight. Lucas snorts. He's not staying here now. The officer gives him a look, then turns back to me. We'll have someone from the building come secure the window and door. Forensics may attend, but he pauses, eyes flicking to the vanity in the bathroom. If you suspect there's anything unusual about the property, don't touch it. Let us know. I nod, because nodding is what you do when you're trying not to shake apart. They leave, boots downstairs. A radio crackle fading. The flat feels too open without them, like the walls have relaxed. Lucas stands in the middle of the room, hands on hips, rain-dark hair stuck to his forehead, cheeks scraped raw. Okay, he says. We grab your stuff. We get a hotel. Done. I need my passport, I say automatically. It's in your bag. I look at the suitcase on the bedroom floor. Clothes soaked at the edges. A damp smear where someone stepped through the rain. My stomach tightens, not fear now, anger. The kind that makes you want to put your fist through something expensive. I need to know, I hear myself say. Lucas's eyes narrow. Know what? I point, half without thinking, toward the bathroom. The mirror. He blinks at me like I've started speaking in riddles. Ethan, it wasn't just the door, I say, too fast. The words come out like they've been waiting behind my teeth. They knew where to go. They knew the window. And the mirror, I swallow. It lagged, like it wasn't a mirror. Lucas exhales hard. You're spiraling. Maybe. I force myself to meet his eyes. But the cord behind the vanity, the power strip, the weird flicker, that's not spiraling, that's something. Lucas rubs a hand over his face. Fine, we look, 2 minutes. Then we leave. We move together like we're back in college doing something dumb and pretending it's brave. The bathroom light is on again. Someone must have flipped it at some point. The mirror looks normal, innocent. A rectangle of glass, a scratch near the bottom left, a seam of caulk around the edge. I step closer. My reflection steps closer. I blink. Perfect sync. See, Lucas says, already turning away. Wait. I lift my phone and open the front camera again, framing both me and the mirror. Me in phone syncs clean. Me in mirror looks clean. Then I angle the phone slightly, catching the mirror at the edge of the frame and the vanity wall behind it. The image on the phone jitters. Not the mirror, something in the mirror. A faint, uneven brightness behind the glass, like a screen waking. I hold my breath. Lucas leans in. What am I looking at? I tap the mirror with my knuckle. It doesn't sound like glass on drywall. It sounds hollow, slightly dampened, like there's space behind it. I feel my skin tighten. This isn't mounted like a normal mirror. Lucas's jaw shifts. He looks suddenly less annoyed. You think it's one of those two-way mirror things. Or a cabinet, I say. Or something. I crouch and look along the bottom edge. The caulk line is uneven. There's a tiny gap at one corner, not enough to notice unless you're looking for a reason to prove you're not losing it. I wedge my fingernail in. Peel. The caulk gives with a soft, rubbery tear. Lucas swears under his breath. Dude, the police literally said don't touch. I know, I whisper, and keep peeling anyway, because my flaw is right here in my hands, the need to confirm. The need to turn fear into an object I can point at. I find a screw head behind the caulk. Phillips, cheap, a little rusted. Lucas sighs like he hates himself, then steps in and pulls a coin from his pocket. Move. He works the screw with the coin edge, muttering, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then the bottom of the mirror shifts, just a millimeter, like a door loosening. My stomach drops. It's not glued. It's hung. We pull together, slow. The mirror tilts forward, and behind it, mounted to the wall, is a thin black panel, like a small display screen wired into a power adapter that disappears into the hole behind the vanity. A strip of Velcro holds a puck-sized camera to the inside edge, angled toward the bathroom, and if the door is open, straight into the bedroom. For a second, neither of us speaks. The exhaust fan hums. The city breathes outside. Everything else in me goes quiet. Lucas finally lets out a short, disbelieving laugh. Oh my God. My throat tightens. That's why it lagged. Because I wasn't watching a reflection. I was watching a live feed of myself, slightly delayed, playing back on a screen behind glass. My eyes flick to the camera. Tiny lens, tiny dot of an LED that would be invisible in daylight. My skin crawls, not from ghosts, but from the thought of how many ordinary mornings could have been watched. Lucas reaches toward it, then stops himself. We need to what? Take pictures. Call them back. Yes, I say, already raising my phone. My hands are shaking so badly the photos blur. I take more, wide shot, close shot, the wires, the camera, the adapter, the cord through the wall. Then, from the living area, the front door shifts. Not a kick, not a pry, a smooth, confident turn of the handle. The latch clicks. My blood doesn't run cold. My body just goes heavy, instantly, like gravity doubled. Lucas hears it too. His head snaps toward the doorway. No. Footsteps enter the flat. Not running, not hiding. The sound of someone who believes they belong there. A man's voice, calm, irritated, calls out, "Hello, anyone in?" Lucas and I look at each other. We are both thinking the same thing at the same time. He has a key. Lucas whispers, "Bathroom now." We lower the mirror panel as quietly as we can, but it bumps the counter with a soft thunk that feels like a shout. The footsteps stop. A beat. Then they start again, faster. Lucas shoves me toward the bathroom door. I stumble, knee flaring with pain, and catch myself on the sink. My phone almost slips. The footsteps are in the living area now. A shadow passes the bathroom doorway. The man says, "Closer." Oi, what's going on? Lucas grabs the power strip off the floor like it's a weapon, face tight, eyes hard. He's not brave in a heroic way. He's brave in the way people get when there's no other choice. Punch 999 again with trembling fingers, but the call screen hesitates, bad signal, or my own clumsiness. The bathroom door swings open. He's there, adult male, maybe mid-30s, light jacket, jeans wet at the cuffs. His eyes flick past us to the mirror, then to the peeled cock, and his expression changes in a flash from confusion to calculation. He sees what we saw, and his calm drops away. "Step back," Lucas says, voice low. The power strip cord dangles from his fist. The man's gaze darts to Lucas's hand, then to my phone. He lunges, not at Lucas, at me. At the phone, I jerk back, shoulders slamming the wall. His hand scrapes my wrist, nails biting, pain sharp and bright. Lucas swings the power strip like a flail. It catches the man's forearm with a dull smack. Not a knockout, just enough to make him recoil, swearing. He shoves Lucas hard into the vanity. Lucas grunts, and I hear something crack wood or bone. I can't tell, and Lucas folds slightly, face twisting. I get the call through. The operator answers, and I choke out. He's back, he's inside. Southwark, same address now. The man hears the word inside, and his eyes go flat. He reaches past Lucas, grabs the mirror edge, and yanks. The whole panel swings forward, wires stretching. The camera and screen wobble. He's trying to rip it out, to erase it. Lucas, teeth clenched, grabs the cord and pulls back. No, for a second, they're locked in a tug of war, both grunting, both slipping on tile. The cord behind the vanity goes taut. Then it tears free from the wall with a violent snap. Sparks spit from the hole like angry fireflies. The bathroom lights die. The fan stops. In the sudden dimness, lit only by gray window light, the man wrenches the panel toward himself and turns to run. But his heel catches the loose cord. He stumbles, arms flailing, and slams shoulder first into the doorframe. The impact is sickeningly solid. He goes down hard, head bouncing once off the tile. Not dead, not clean. He groans, one hand scrabbling at the floor, trying to rise. Lucas stands over him, shaking, one arm hanging at a wrong angle, shoulder visibly off. His face is white with pain, but his eyes are fixed. I'm still on the phone, voice high and broken, describing what I see, like that will keep it real. The man tries to push up again. Lucas plants a foot, gently but firmly, on his wrist. Not crushing, controlling. "Don't," Lucas says, voice raw, "just don't." We hold there, three men in a tiny London bathroom, breathing hard, listening to the building around us. A distant door slam. A kettle clicks somewhere, the rain ticking on the window. The operator tells me officers are on their way again, that I should stay on the line. That help is close. I believe her this time because there's no other option. The cost lands in small waves. The ache in my knee, the burning scrape on my wrist, Lucas's shoulder dislocated and trembling, the man on the floor moaning like an animal caught in a trap. And in the dim, dead mirror, now just a piece of glass leaning crookedly, I can see my own face reflected for the first time in what feels like hours. It's synced. It's mine. And I don't trust it anymore. The ambulance smells like antiseptic and wet fabric. Lucas sits on the gurney opposite me, shirt cut at the shoulder, arm immobilized in a sling that looks too flimsy to be comforting. His jaw is clenched, eyes unfocused, like he's replaying the moment where the man shoved him and his shoulder gave way. Shock doesn't look dramatic. It looks like staring at nothing and answering questions half a second too late. A paramedic shines a penlight in my eyes. Any dizziness? No, I say. Then, after a beat, I don't think so. She nods and writes something down. My wrist is wrapped in gauze where the skin broke. My knee throbs in a dull, manageable way. Nothing that won't heal. That fact feels almost insulting, considering how close everything came to not being manageable at all. Outside the ambulance doors, the building's entryway is crowded with normal life. A woman arguing quietly on her phone, a delivery guy checking an address, someone smoking under the awning and watching too intently. The rain has eased into a mist that hangs in the air and softens edges. The police don't leave much to imagination. They walk me through it carefully, patiently, the way you do when you're trying not to re-traumatize someone while still getting the facts straight. The man, his name turns out to be Mark Ellis, 37, wasn't a phantom or a mastermind. He was a contractor, technically, had access through a maintenance agreement with the building, had installed similar setups in 2 other flats, both short-term rentals, claimed it was for security, claimed the footage wasn't stored locally. They don't believe him. They seize his phone, his backpack, the panel, the camera. They photograph the wiring. They bag the broken power strip like it's a weapon, which makes my stomach flip in a way I don't comment on. Lucas squeezes my good shoulder while an officer explains the next steps. You did good, he says quietly. You didn't freeze. I almost laugh. I almost tell him that freezing is exactly what I do best, historically. Instead, I nod, because nodding has become my default response to everything that doesn't have a clean answer. The host never shows up. He sends messages, apologies, assurances, offers of refunds, but no face. No explanation for how a mirror-like that got installed without his knowledge. The police tell me that part will be handled later. Civilly, administratively, in words that sound like paper and time and waiting. We don't go back to the flat. We get a hotel near the river, one of those places that smells like fresh linen and coffee no matter where you stand. The room has a full-length mirror mounted to the wall opposite the bed. It's bolted in place, framed, solid. I still avoid looking at it. Lucas sleeps first, aided by painkillers and exhaustion. His breathing evens out quickly, a deep, steady rhythm that feels like proof the world is still capable of normal functions. I sit on the edge of the bed and scroll through my phone without really reading anything. Messages from people back home stack up. Are you okay? Lucas said something happened, and I don't answer them yet. When I finally do stand and cross the room to brush my teeth, I keep my eyes on the sink, on the faucet, on the toothpaste foam. I watch my hands. My hands don't betray me. I know intellectually that the mirror in this room is just glass. I know the trick now. I know the lag wasn't mystical or metaphysical. It was latency, processing time, a cheap screen and a camera and a bad wiring job. Knowing doesn't stop my pulse from ticking up when I finally look. I lift my gaze slowly. My reflection lifts its gaze with me, perfectly synced. I blink. It blinks. I hold the stare longer than is comfortable, daring my body to calm down. My reflection looks tired, pale, older than it did yesterday morning in the urban bathroom. That part is real. Trauma has a way of adding years overnight. I turn away before my brain can start inventing reasons not to trust what I see. The next day is paperwork and phone calls and a short visit to a police station that smells faintly of old carpet and printer toner. I give another statement. Lucas gives his. Mark Ellis is charged with a list of things that sound technical and heavy when read aloud. There will be court dates, evidence review. I won't be required to stay in the country for most of it. The officer, same one from before, tells me gently that it's unlikely I was specifically targeted, that short-term rentals are vulnerable, that the timing was bad luck. Bad luck is a phrase I can live with. On the flight home, Lucas dozes beside me, sling awkward against the armrest. I watch the seatback screen show our progress inching over the Atlantic in a way that feels reassuringly abstract. We are moving away from something. Distance counts for something. I catch my reflection in the darkened window when the cabin lights dim. It overlays the black glass, faint and ghost-like. I don't test it. At home in Seattle, my apartment smells like dust and familiar detergent. The lock clicks behind me with a sound I've always liked. Solid, final. I check it once. Then, despite myself, I check it again. The mirror above my bathroom sink has a chip in the corner from when I dropped a bottle months ago. It's ugly. I'm suddenly grateful for that. Proof it hasn't been swapped. Proof of continuity. Life resumes in the way it always does, not all at once, but in pieces. Work emails, groceries, a follow-up appointment for Lucas's shoulder when he gets back, a polite call from an Airbnb representative offering credit and regret. Weeks pass. The charges move forward. I get an email about a civil case I can opt into. I don't, at least not yet. I'm tired of rooms that need to be examined. One evening, after a long day that is unremarkable in every important way, I stand in my bathroom brushing my teeth and realize I haven't thought about the mirror all day. The realization makes me pause. I rinse, set the toothbrush down, look up. My reflection looks back. I blink. It blinks. I hold my breath, not because I expect something to happen, but because part of me is listening for the echo of fear that used to live here. It's quieter now. Not gone, just smaller. I turn off the light and leave the bathroom. The apartment settles around me with its usual sounds. The fridge hum, the faint rush of traffic through the window, the building's pipes ticking as they cool. In the dark hallway, my phone lights up with a notification. A news alert. Metropolitan Police investigate additional complaints linked to short-term rentals. I don't open it. I sit on the couch and let the quiet be quiet. Later, much later, when I get up to turn off the living room lamp, I pass the dark bathroom door and catch my reflection faintly in the black glass of the shower panel. Just for a moment, the angle is wrong. The light from the street hits it strangely. It looks like it moves before I do. I stop. Count one slow beat. I blink. The reflection blinks with me. I stand there a second longer, then shake my head, almost smiling at myself. Latency doesn't haunt you. People do. I turn away and go to bed, leaving the door open, leaving the light off. Welcome back to Mia Horror Stories. Tonight's tale, my wife has been standing in the corner for 13 hours, facing the wall is best experienced in the dark, which is why the screen will stay black. No distractions, no flashing images, just you, your imagination, and the story. So sit back, relax, and listen all the way to the end, if you dare. The first time I looked at the clock and did the math, I did it wrong on purpose. Not like I was trying to trick anyone, just if I kept it in smaller numbers, it didn't sound as insane. 3 hours, 4, maybe 5. But The minute hand kept walking in its smooth little loop, and the digital display on the oven stayed rude and exact. 9:17 p.m. She'd been standing there since 8:03 this morning. I knew because I'd checked the security camera log on my phone like some guy trying to catch a raccoon in his trash cans. Except this wasn't a raccoon. This was my wife. Her nose was almost to the paint. Not touching. Close enough that her breath left a faint fog on the matte eggshell, the kind that disappears if you blink. She stood in the corner of our dining room, facing the wall, hands down at her sides, shoulders set like she was holding a heavy grocery bag in each fist. There were still things about it that were normal if you squinted. Her socks matched. She was wearing the old gray sweatshirt from a marathon she never ran, hair up in the messy twist she did when she was about to clean or cook. The Spotify speaker on the counter had timed out hours ago, so the apartment had settled into the noises we usually never listened to on purpose. The radiator ticking like it was cooling itself down in slow motion. A neighbor's TV muffled through drywall, an ambulance far off and then gone. And she was breathing. I could see it in the small rise and fall between her shoulder blades. I set my keys down as quietly as if she might be sleeping. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice gentle because that's what you do when something's wrong, but it still has an explanation. "I'm home." No movement. I took my shoes off by the door and lined them up like I always did. One small habit I pretended was for cleanliness, but was really for control. My tie felt too tight even though I'd loosened it in the elevator. I pulled it off anyway, then realized my hands were shaking a little, and I shoved the tie into my coat pocket like it was contraband. I walked around the back of the couch so I could see her profile without getting in her line of sight. There was something in me that didn't want to step between her and the wall. It felt like stepping between someone and a cliff edge. "Lena," I tried again. "Honey," still nothing. I did the most normal thing my brain could find. I made a joke, half under my breath. "Okay, if this is one of those mindfulness things, I support it, but you're scaring me." The joke had nowhere to land. It just fell into the room and sat there. I opened the fridge with my free hand, like muscle memory could carry me. Cold air hit my face. Our grocery list was still taped inside the door with her tidy looping handwriting. Milk, eggs, coffee, bananas. The word bananas had 2 question marks next to it, like she knew I'd forget. I closed the fridge and stood there holding the handle a second longer than needed. The magnets clicked softly. She didn't flinch. A small, undeniable break from normalcy. That was what my old therapist would have called it if this were a session and not my actual life. The kind of thing that's off, but still, technically, within the bounds of human behavior. People freeze. People get overwhelmed. People do weird stuff when they're stressed. We'd been stressed lately, not in the dramatic way people talk about over dinner, in the slow, grinding way of mortgage rates and work emails and a kitchen faucet that never stopped dripping no matter how many YouTube tutorials I watched. And there was me. I'm Adam Mercer, 34, male, and I work in IT compliance for a medical device company in Cambridge. It's the kind of job that turns your brain into a checklist. The kind of job where you can convince yourself that if you just follow enough steps in the correct order, nothing bad will happen. My private fear, the one I didn't say out loud even to myself most days, was that the moment something truly unpredictable happened, I'd be useless. I'd stand there making lists while the house burned down. I pulled my phone out. The lock screen showed 2 missed calls from my sister and 1 text from Lena. The text was from 8:19 a.m. Can you pick up oat milk after work? Also, don't freak out. That second line had been added 2 minutes later. I stared at it until the words stopped looking like words. Then I looked at Lena, still standing in her corner like a punishment. I tapped her name in my call log and hit dial, even though she was 10 feet away. The phone rang on the counter behind her because her phone was there, face down, next to a ceramic mug that had gone cold. The screen lit up with my face as the caller ID photo. It rang twice, 3 times, then stopped. She didn't react. Not even a micro turn of the head. Okay, I said louder now, irritation flaring up because fear likes to dress up as anger. Lena, please talk to me. I moved closer. The dining room table was half set like she'd started lunch and then walked away. A plate with the crust of a sandwich. A butter knife with peanut butter dried dark along one side. The smell was faintly sweet and stale. Her stance was precise. Feet hip-width apart. Weight evenly distributed, not swaying. If she'd been sleepwalking, she would have shifted. If she was messing with me, there would have been some tell, a twitch of amusement, a suppressed breath. Lena, I said, and I reached out carefully like I was approaching a dog I didn't know. My fingertips touched her sweatshirt sleeve. Her skin under the fabric was warm. Alive. She didn't jerk away. She didn't lean into it. I slid my hand down to her wrist, checking for a pulse like I'd seen on TV. It was there, steady and unhurried. Too steady for how fast mine was beating. Hey, I whispered, closer now. What's going on? Her hair smelled like shampoo and the faint sourness of old sweat. I caught the edge of something else, too metallic, like pennies. It made my stomach tilt. I stepped around until I was beside her, not in her direct line, and crouched so I could see her face. Her eyes were open, not wide, not rolled back. Open like she was staring at something important, but her focus was fixed on the blank wall 3 inches from her nose. Her pupils looked normal in the dim overhead light. She blinked once slow, dry. Her lips were slightly parted, as if she'd been about to speak, and then forgot how. A ridiculous thought came, sharp and immediate. Maybe she'd had a stroke. Maybe she'd hit her head. Maybe she'd taken something by accident, sleep meds, allergy pills, anything. We had a cabinet full of little orange bottles with instructions nobody read. I tried to get her attention with something ordinary. Lena, I said soft. It's me. Adam, I'm home. Can you look at me? I snapped my fingers once, right near her ear, then immediately regretted it. The sound in the quiet room felt violent. She didn't startle. I went to the kitchen drawer for the flashlight we kept for blackouts. My hands fumbled. The flashlight clattered against the silverware tray. Still, she stayed perfectly still, staring at paint. I shone the light gently across her face. No obvious droop, no unevenness. Her gaze didn't track. Beam reflected off her irises like glass. I turned the flashlight off and set it down carefully, as if noise might break something. The rational part of my brain started building an explanation like a scaffold. Panic attack, dissociation, catatonia, some kind of stress response. A mental health crisis, something medical, something with a protocol. I made myself breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth. Smelled dish soap, smelled peanut butter, smelled that faint metallic note again. My phone buzzed. Another message. From my sister, Maya Mercer, 31, female, Call me ASAP. Did Lena answer you? I stared at the screen. Maya wasn't the dramatic type. She worked as a paramedic in Somerville. Her texts were usually blunt and full of abbreviations. For her to write ASAP meant something. I typed back with my thumbs hovering like they didn't know how to be human. I'm home. She's here. She's standing in the corner, not responding. 3 dots appeared instantly, then disappeared, then appeared again. Adam, don't touch anything else. Is she breathing? Is she bleeding? Call 911. Now, I looked up at Lena, at the way her shoulders held themselves so deliberately, the way her fingers were curled just slightly, like she'd been gripping something earlier. On the floor near the baseboard, half under the chair, there was a thin, clear plastic strip I hadn't noticed at first, like packaging from a new appliance, or something torn off quickly. It caught the light when I shifted, and for a second, it looked almost like a filament. My mouth went dry. I could call 911. That was the obvious move. But the thought of uniformed strangers in our apartment, of Lena standing like this while someone asked her name and got nothing back, made heat spread up the back of my neck. Shame, irrational and immediate. The same shame that makes you hide messes before company comes over. Or I could do what I always did, try to handle it myself first, find the reason, fix it quietly, solve it like a system error. My finger hovered over the call button. I glanced at Lena's phone on the counter, face down like it was hiding. I glanced at the medicine cabinet. I glanced at the front door, still unlocked behind me. Lena blinked again, slow, deliberate, without turning away from the wall. In the tiny pause after her blink, the apartment felt like it was waiting for my decision. I stood there with my phone in my hand and realized the choice wasn't between embarrassment and calm. It was between getting help and pretending I still had control. And I didn't know which one would make things worse. I called 911. I didn't do it dramatically. No shaking hand, no whispered prayer. I just pressed the button like I was accepting a calendar invite I didn't want to attend. The dispatcher answered on the second ring, and I gave her our address and said my wife wasn't responding and had been standing in one place for hours. I heard myself minimizing it even as I spoke, sanding the edges off the words so they wouldn't cut me. Is she conscious? The dispatcher asked. Yes, I said. Her eyes are open. She's breathing. Is she responding to verbal stimuli? No. Is she standing unassisted? Yes. There was a pause, a soft clack of keys. I need you to ensure the scene is safe. Are there any strong odors, gas, chemicals? I hesitated, then thought of the smell. There's something faint, kind of metallic. Okay, she said, tone sharpening just a notch. Do you have a carbon monoxide detector? Yes, in the hallway. Is it alarming? I looked toward the hallway. The detector's small green light was steady. No sound, no flashing red. No, I said. It's not going off. Sir, I want you to open a window if you can safely do so. Not move your wife unless she's in immediate danger. Paramedics are en route. I thanked her, because politeness is my reflex even when my house feels wrong, and hung up. I went to the nearest window and cracked it open. Cold air slid in, smelling like wet pavement and exhaust. The radiator clicked louder, offended. Lena didn't move. My phone buzzed again. Maya was calling this time. I'm 5 minutes away, she said as soon as I answered. I was already headed in your direction. How did you? Your address is still in my phone, she said. Listen to me. Has she fallen? Any injuries? No, I said. She's just standing there, Maya, she's been like this all day. Any meds missing? Anything unusual in the apartment? I thought of the plastic strip on the floor. There's something on the ground, like packaging. And this smell. Do not touch it, she said, sharp enough that it snapped something in my chest. Adam, if there's any chance this is environmental, you need to get yourself safe too. I'm fine, I said automatically, because that's what I always said. I feel fine. That doesn't mean anything, she said. Co-poisoning can mess with perception. You can feel normal right up until you're not. I looked at Lena again, at the steadiness of her, the way her breathing hadn't changed even when I opened the window. The detector didn't go off. Detectors fail, Maya said. Batteries die. Sensors drift. When was the last time you tested it? I opened my mouth, then closed it. I couldn't remember. It had been months, maybe longer. Maya exhaled hard. Okay, I'm coming in hot. If she collapses, call me back. If you feel dizzy, lightheaded, anything, you get out. I hung up and realized my heart was pounding hard enough that it made my vision pulse slightly at the edges. I blamed adrenaline. It was easier than considering the alternative. I went back to Lena. The window had shifted the air in the room, stirring that metallic note until it was stronger, less ambiguous. It reminded me of the inside of a toolbox left out in the rain. Help is coming, I told her, more for myself than for her. You just have to hang on. Her jaw moved, just a fraction, enough that I noticed. Lena, I leaned in, heart jumping. Can you hear me? Her lips parted a little more. A sound came out, not a word, a breath forced through teeth. It sounded like effort. I crouched in front of her again, trying to catch her eye without getting directly in her face. Her pupils looked off, not uneven, but sluggish. When she blinked, it was delayed, like her body was waiting for permission. Okay, I said, voice shaking despite my best effort. Okay, that's good. That's something. I glanced toward the hallway. The co-detector still glowed green, smug, and useless. The sirens arrived sooner than I expected. Red and blue light flashed against the walls, stuttering through the apartment like a bad edit. There was a knock, loud, authoritative. I opened the door to 2 paramedics and a firefighter, all efficient motion and clipped questions. They filled the apartment with the smell of cold air and rubber gloves. They assessed Lena where she stood. One of the paramedics, a woman with a tight braid and tired eyes, checked her vitals. Pulse is steady, she said. BP's elevated, but not critical. The firefighter glanced around. You said metallic smell. Yes, I said, faint. He reached down and picked up the clear plastic strip with gloved fingers. He frowned. This looks like part of a tamper seal, industrial. My stomach dropped. From what? Hard to say, he said. Could be from a chemical container, cleaning product, solvent. Do you have any new appliances? The paramedic asked me. Space heaters, humidifiers. Anything plugged in that wasn't before. I shook my head, then stopped. We got a new air purifier last week. From a friend. It's in the bedroom. The firefighter's head snapped up. Turn it off. Now, I ran. The purifier was humming softly, blue light steady, like it had done its job too well. I unplugged it and the hum died, leaving a thick quiet behind. When I came back, Maya was there, pushing past the responders with a badge flashed so fast it was more gesture than proof. She took one look at Lena and swore under her breath. Is it? I asked. What do you think it is? Could be exposure, she said. Could be something she inhaled. Could be intentional or accidental. We don't know yet. Intentional, the word landed wrong. No, she wouldn't, Maya met my eyes. I'm not saying she tried to hurt herself. I'm saying people do things they don't fully understand when they're trying to fix a problem. The paramedics moved to get Lena onto a stretcher. When they tried to guide her away from the wall, she resisted. Not violently. Just planted her feet harder, muscles locking. Her breathing spiked, shallow and fast. A low sound came from her throat, like panic trying to stay contained. "Hey," I said quickly. "Hey, it's okay. They're here to help." She turned her head a fraction, just enough that I could see the corner of her eye. For the first time since I'd come home, her gaze broke from the wall. She looked at me. There was fear there, raw and unfiltered, and something else, certainty, like she was holding onto a rule I didn't know. Her lips moved. This time, the sound that came out was almost a word. "Don't," she whispered. The paramedic paused. "Sir," she said to me, "we need to move her." "If this is toxic exposure, time matters," I nodded, even as my chest tightened. "I know." They counted down together, coordinated. On 3, they pulled. Something clattered to the floor as Lena was finally turned away from the wall, a small object that had been hidden behind her foot. A slim, cracked vial. Empty. The label was partially torn, but I could make out enough. Industrial use only. The firefighter swore. Maya grabbed my arm. "Adam," she said urgently, "we need to evacuate the building. Now." As they lifted Lena onto the stretcher, her fingers tightened around my sleeve with surprising strength. Her nails dug in, grounding me, anchoring me to her fear. "I was fixing it," she said hoarsely, eyes locked on mine. "I didn't want you to worry." And the paramedics wheeled her away, and the apartment suddenly felt much, much smaller. They moved fast once the vial hit the floor. The firefighter, broad-shouldered, soot-smudged even in clean gear, stepped into the hallway and called something into his radio that I couldn't quite hear over the building's sudden, anxious noise. Doors cracking open. A dog barking. Someone on the 3rd floor asking, too loudly, if there was a fire. Maya kept one hand on my elbow like I might drift. "Stay with me," she said low. "I am," I said, but my voice sounded far away, like it belonged to the apartment we were leaving. The stretcher rolled out first. Lena lay on her back now, straps across her chest and thighs, her eyes half-lidded, but still open. She looked smaller, less like a person who'd been holding a corner with sheer will, and more like someone who'd been quietly drowning in the same room I'd eaten breakfast in yesterday. As the paramedics pivoted the stretcher through the doorframe, Lena's head turned slightly. Her gaze snagged on the dining room corner as if it had a magnet in it. The wall, the blank paint. She didn't fight the straps, but her throat made that tight, contained sound again. "Lena," I said, stepping close, because my body still believed proximity could fix things. "I'm right here." One of the paramedics, Erin Walsh, 29, female, shot me a look that was firm, but not unkind. "Sir, you can follow in your own car. We need space." "I don't have a car," I said stupidly. Then you'll follow later," Maya cut in. "I'll go with her, you." Her eyes moved over me like a scan. "You need to get outside. Fresh air, now." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say I was fine. I wanted to do the thing I always do, which is make myself useful by controlling details. But the hallway had started to tilt in a way I couldn't blame entirely on adrenaline. The building's corridor ran straight from our unit to the elevator, beige carpet worn thin down the center. I'd walked it 1,000 times. Tonight it felt narrower, like it was squeezing us out. At the far end, the exit sign glowed a too bright red, the color of an appliance light in a dark kitchen. "Adam," Maya said, sharper, and I realized I'd stopped moving. Stairs. Elevator's a bad idea if this is airborne. We took the stairs. Concrete, cold, smelling faintly like mop water, and someone's old cigarette smoke from years ago baked into the paint. Halfway down, my throat tightened, and I had to swallow hard, the way you do when you're trying not to cough in a movie theater. On the landing between the second and first floors, a door slammed open, and a man in socks leaned out, wild-eyed. "What's going on?" he demanded. "Possible chemical exposure," Aaron called up from below without slowing. "Evacuate. Leave everything. Do not re-enter." The man blinked, as if his brain had tried to refuse that sentence. "Chemical? Like move," a firefighter barked, and the man jerked back like he'd been yanked by a leash. Outside, the air hit like a slap. January cold, wet, and honest. The street in front of our building was crowded with apparatus, ambulance engine, a white SUV with blinking amber lights. Red and blue strobed against the brownstone facades across the street, turning windows into blinking eyes. The sidewalk filled with people in pajama pants and slippers, hugging themselves. Someone had wrapped a blanket around a toddler. A woman with a terrier clutched the leash like it was a lifeline. The terrier kept trying to go back inside, confused and furious. Maya guided me to the curb. "Sit," she ordered. "I'm not. Sit." I sat on the cold edge of the concrete planter by the front steps. My hands were numb already, but sweat clung to my lower back. My phone felt slick. Maya crouched in front of me, her paramedic comm snapping into place like a helmet. "Listen, I'm going with her to the ER. You are not going back in there." "I need her phone," I said immediately. "It's on the counter, her medical history contacts." "You can get it later," Maya said. "What if they need to know what she took?" The words came out too loud. A few neighbors glanced over. I lowered my voice. "What if there's a message on it? Something she was trying to tell me." Maya's mouth tightened. "Then you tell Aaron, and they can collect it safely." They were already moving into procedure. A firefighter unspooled yellow tape and blocked off the front door. Another brought out a plastic bin and started laying out supplies on the sidewalk: gloves, masks, a little handheld device with a screen and a wand. The kind of thing you see in airport security videos. A police cruiser pulled up and parked double. An officer got out, pulling his hat low against the cold. Officer Luca Morty, 42, male, approached with a notepad, the kind of face that looked like it had seen enough to stop expecting neat explanations. "Sir, you live in Unit 2B. "Yes," I said, "that's us." "Your wife is the patient?" he asked. "Yes." He asked for my name, date of birth, the basics, while the ambulance doors closed and Lena disappeared into the vehicle with Maya following. The siren kicked on and then faded down the street toward Massachusetts Ave, the sound shrinking until it became just another city noise. I sat there and felt the first real weight of the thing. She was gone, and I was still here, and the apartment, our home, was now a hazard. Officer Morty kept talking. "Any recent renovations, pesticides, anything you store that could be dangerous." "We don't keep anything," I said. "Just normal stuff." "Reason your wife would have industrial use only chemicals?" he asked, glancing down at his notes. "No," I said too fast, and Maya's earlier words cut through my denial. People do things they don't fully understand when they're trying to fix a problem. My mind spiraled toward the air purifier, the gift, the friend. "Wait," I said, "there was a purifier. Someone gave it to us." Morty's eyes sharpened. "Who?" "My coworker," I said, "Jonas. He said his sister didn't need it. Full name. Jonas, I stalled, because I realized I didn't know his last name off the top of my head the way you think you do, until you have to say it to a cop. Keller, Jonas Keller. Morty wrote it down. Maya's absence was a physical thing now, a missing support beam. Without her, my thoughts didn't have a guardrail. I tried the first attempt at solving something I called Jonas. It went to voicemail. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Call me. Emergency." No reply. I opened the app for the security camera, our cheap little indoor cam that pointed at the front door, because Lena hated the feeling of people walking past in the hallway. The feed loaded, lagged, then showed the empty entryway inside our unit, tinted in grayscale night vision, even though it was still early. The camera had switched modes because the lights inside were off now. I scrolled back through the timeline. 8:03 a.m. motion detected in the dining room. I tapped it. The clip buffered. And then the screen froze and a message popped up. Connection lost. Of course, the one time I needed technology to behave like the brochure, it didn't. I felt my throat tighten with anger that wasn't really anger. A procedural failure, a tiny betrayal. I stood up too quickly and had to grab the edge of the planter. The world swam for a second. The cold air tasted sharp. Officer Morty watched me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied. A firefighter in a different jacket, white helmet, more authority, walked over to Morty and spoke quietly. I caught only fragments. Multiple units, precaution, ventilation. Hazmat en route. Hazmat. The word didn't belong on our street. A new vehicle arrived, boxy and white, and a technician stepped out wearing a respirator slung around his neck like a necklace. Calvin Rausch, 38, male, introduced himself briskly and held up the handheld detector. "We're going to do a quick assessment. If there's airborne contamination, nobody goes back inside." "I need something from the apartment," I said immediately, voice cracking. "Her phone. It's right inside the door." Calvin didn't even look at me. He was scanning the air near the entrance, the wand moving slowly as if he was tasting invisible soup. "Not your call," he said. The device beeped once, then again. Not a shriek, not a dramatic alarm. Just a steady, patient beep that made my stomach drop because it sounded like confirmation. Calvin turned slightly. "We're getting readings," he said to Morty. "Not sure what yet." Morty's head snapped up. "Readings of what?" "VOCs at least," Calvin said. "Possibly something else. We need to identify. Until then, treat it as hazardous." My mind tried to keep up, failed, and then did what it always does, searched for a loophole. The second attempt came out of my mouth before I could stop it. "What if I just run in? 10 seconds, grab the phone. I'll hold my breath." Maya would have slapped me. Lena would have rolled her eyes. A normal Lena would have. Calvin finally looked at me, and his expression wasn't sympathy. It was disgusted disbelief, like he'd seen this movie too many times. "That's not how lungs work," he said. "And if you contaminate yourself, we've got 2 patients." "I can't just stand here," I said, and I hated how needy it sounded. Morty's voice cut in. "Sir, you need to stay behind the tape." I stared at the front steps, the door, the gap between me and the counter where Lena's phone was lying face down. 10 feet, maybe 12. The distance felt like a dare. People around us murmured, a low ripple. Someone asked if it was gas. Someone else said they'd smelled something weird earlier too. A man held his phone up, filming, because of course he did. My private fear, the one about being useless when things got unpredictable, rose up and took control of my body. I couldn't fix Lena's condition from the sidewalk. I couldn't make Jonah's pick up. I couldn't force the camera to connect. The only thing I could do was a simple physical action with a clear goal. Get the phone. Before anyone could stop me, I ducked under the tape. Adam, Morty barked. Hands reached for my jacket, but I twisted away with a suddenness that surprised even me. I bounded up the steps, fumbled the key like my fingers belonged to someone else, and shoved the door open. The apartment air hit me immediately. It was warmer inside, stale, and the metallic smell was stronger now that I knew to look for it. Not dramatic, not choking, just wrong like pennies and damp drywall. I moved fast, straight through the entryway into the kitchen, 5 steps, then the turn left where the counter began. Lena's phone was exactly where I remembered, still face down. I grabbed it. Behind me, the front door swung shut with a heavy, final sound. And from the hallway outside, I heard Calvin's voice muffled through the door saying, "Seal it, he's inside." Tape ripped. Another strip, more layers. My pulse jumped. I rushed to the door and yanked the handle. It didn't budge. Not locked by a key. Held by pressure, tape, and procedure. I pressed my forehead against the wood for a second, breathing hard, and realized the point of no return wasn't a dramatic explosion or a scream. It was the soft, methodical sound of them making the outside safe by trapping me on the inside. The tape ripping outside the door wasn't frantic. That was the worst part. It was calm, methodical, like wrapping a package. "Hey," I yelled, slamming my palm against the wood. "You can't, I'm inside." My voice came back at me, swallowed by the apartment. The hallway side stayed muffled, busy. Someone said my name once, Morty, I thought, but it was followed by Calvin's flat, professional tone. "Sir, stay put. Don't touch anything. We'll get you out. Stay put." As if this were a delayed train, I backed away from the door with Lena's phone in my hand and tried to slow my breathing the way my therapist had taught me. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The air tasted like warm pennies. Not choking, not dramatic, just wrong, a sharpness that sat behind my tongue. My eyes watered in a way that didn't feel like crying, more like my body trying to rinse itself. I moved on instinct toward the open window in the living room and pulled it up the rest of the way. Cold air rushed in, slapping the curtains against the sill. For a moment, it helped. Then my head swam. I grabbed the back of the couch and held on until the room stopped tilting. Okay, checklist. Do something useful. Do anything. I looked at Lena's phone. Face ID failed, of course it did, so I held it up to her face out of habit, then caught myself. She was already halfway to the ER. I typed her passcode without thinking, the same 4 digits we'd used since we moved in together, like a stupid shared secret. The home screen opened. 5 new notifications bloomed at once, like the phone had been holding its breath. A reminder, return purifier Jonah's, set for today, 11:00 a.m. My stomach tightened. I opened messages and searched Jonah's. The thread was longer than I expected. JONAS, dropping the purifier off. It's intense. Lena, intense how? JONAS, it's one of those air sanitizer units. My sister used it in a storage room. Lena, like a normal HEPA. JONAS, not exactly. Read the manual PLS. Don't run it with people in the room. Lena, JONAS, ozone thing. Smells like metal after storms. You'll know. JONAS. Seriously, only run it in empty room for short cycles. My throat went tight as if the words themselves had weight. Metal after storms. The smell. I felt a sudden, furious clarity that made my hands shake. The purifier in the bedroom. The blue light. The hum. Lena trying to fix something, probably our stale winter air. The headaches we'd both been blaming on screens and stress. And she'd done it alone, without telling me, because she didn't want me to worry. And because I always worried in lists. I heard a thump somewhere deep in the building and spun, heart kicking. For half a second, my brain served up something irrational, someone else in here, moving in the dark, until the radiator gave a louder ping, and the upstairs neighbor's music resumed through the ceiling. Bass, a muffled laugh, normal life continuing above a sealed hazard. Misdirection. My brain was desperate for monsters with faces. This threat didn't have one. I moved fast, keeping to the edges of the room like that mattered. Bedroom door on the right off the hall, past the bathroom. I pulled my sweatshirt up over my mouth and nose like it was a mask, and hated how useless it probably was. The purifier sat on Lena's side of the bed, still and innocent with its glossy plastic shell. I'd unplugged it earlier, but now the blue indicator was off, and in the dim light, it looked like any other appliance you'd buy online at 2 a.m. I leaned close and smelled the vent. Metal. I coughed once, sharp, and it scraped my throat as if it had edges. On the floor beside the purifier was the manual Jonas had mentioned. Lena had actually opened it. She de-underlined something with a pen so hard the paper tore slightly. I forced myself to focus, eyes blurring a little. Warning, ozone generation. Do not operate in occupied SPACES. There was more timers, recommended square footage, ventilation guidelines, but my gaze caught on the line she'd marked twice. If odor persists, discontinue use immediately and ventilate. I swallowed. My mouth tasted sour now. Okay, source identified. Step 2, get this information to the people who needed it. I thumbed Maya's number and hit call. It rang once, twice. Then she picked up, breathless. Adam, where are you? In the apartment, I said, and my voice cracked. They sealed the door. Maya, it's the purifier. Jonas told Lena it's an ozone unit. She ran it in here. There was a pause. Then Maya's voice went tight with anger that had fear underneath it. How long was it running? I don't know, I said, but she'd been standing in the corner since 8. The smell, it's like metal, Maya finished. Okay, I'm telling the ER right now. Ozone exposure can mess up airways. They'll treat supportively oxygen bronchodilators monitor. Do you feel short of breath? I tried to answer and realized I was breathing shallow. My chest felt not painful, just slightly too tight, like my ribs were annoyed with me. A little, I admitted. Adam, you need out, Maya said. Now. Trying, I said, and the helplessness in my voice made me want to punch a wall. The door's taped. What do I do? Windows, Maya said immediately. Get as much ventilation as you can and stay away from the unit. I was already doing that. I was also already dizzy. Then another detail punched through, the vial, the tamper seal. Industrial use only. Ozone explained the smell and the purifier. It didn't fully explain the vial hidden behind Lena's foot. That felt like another layer. Another mistake. Another thing she'd tried. I stumbled back into the dining room, following the memory of where it had clattered. The corner looked strangely bare without her there. Just the meeting of 2 walls, baseboards scuffed from chairs, a faint, darker oval on the paint where her breath had been all day. On the floor, the cracked vial sat where it had fallen. I picked it up with my sleeve, careful not to touch it directly, and squinted at the torn label. It wasn't a mystery chemical with a cool name. It was worse. Ozone neutralizer, industrial use only. Do not inhale. Use only with proper ventilation. A neutralizer, so she'd smelled the metal, realized something was wrong. And instead of calling me, instead of turning it off and leaving, she tried to fix it with the kind of product meant for warehouses and remediation crews. Because that's what people do when they're trying to make a problem disappear before the person they love comes home and sees it. I lowered myself into a chair for half a second, fighting nausea. My hands tingled. My thoughts were starting to slip like soap in the bath. No plot armor, no magic clarity, just a failing body. Okay, immediate goal, reduce exposure and get out without becoming a bigger problem. I stood up and moved again, faster now because I could feel time narrowing. I pulled every window open, living room, bedroom, even the tiny bathroom one over the tub. Cold air poured through the apartment, turning it into a wind tunnel that made papers flutter and the curtains slap. I turned on the bathroom fan, the only exhaust we had, and left the purifier far behind me. Then I went to the bedroom window. We had a rear fire escape. Narrow metal steps down to a fenced alley behind the building, where trash bins waited like silent witnesses. I'd used it once during a fire drill and hated how exposed it felt. I climbed out anyway. The metal was slick with winter damp. My palms slipped. My foot found the first rung, then the next. I kept Lena's phone in my pocket like it was a weapon. Halfway down, my right shoe slid on a rung, and my knee slammed into the rail. White pain shot up my leg. I bit down hard enough my jaw clicked, kept moving. When my feet hit the alley, the cold air felt like a clean blade. I stood there bent over, hands on my thighs, dragging breath into my lungs. It hurt a little now, each inhale a scratch. Above me, on the fire escape landing, someone shouted my name. Morty's voice. Calvin's. I couldn't tell. I looked up and raised one hand so they could see I was out. The conflict, at least the immediate one, shifted. The apartment was ventilating. The source was off. Hazmat could do their work without worrying about rescuing a stubborn idiot who'd made himself into a second incident. But the cost was already in my body. My chest tight, my knee throbbing, my eyes burning as if I'd stared into wind for too long. And in my head, a new realization settled like grit. Lena hadn't been standing in that corner for 13 hours because of a ghost. She'd been standing there because she'd been trying to solve a problem alone until her brain and body simply stopped cooperating. And I'd been the kind of man she didn't want to worry. That thought didn't leave room for relief. It just made the cold feel sharper. They kept Lena overnight. That part was non-negotiable. Observation, oxygen, nebulizers that made her cough and swear softly into a paper mask. Her voice was hoarse when I finally heard it, and the sound of it, raspy but unmistakably hers, hit me harder than any diagnosis. They gave me a chair in the corner of the ER room and a paper bracelet, even though I wasn't admitted. For tracking, the nurse said, like that made sense. My knee had been wrapped and iced. My lungs were irritated but clear, which felt like a technical way of saying I'd gotten lucky without earning it. Maya came in after shift change, hair down, jacket unzipped. The adrenaline burned off her face, so she looked like my sister again, and not a uniform. She hugged me once hard, then let go like she was checking a box. Jonas Keller's HR is calling you tomorrow, she said quietly. Hospital filed a report. Fire marshal too. Am I in trouble? I asked. She gave me a look. No, but he might be. That unit shouldn't have been circulating without documentation. And she nodded toward Lena, who was asleep now, chest rising under the thin blanket. She made a mistake trying to correct it. Not a crime, a mistake, I nodded, because nodding was easier than saying anything else. When Lena woke, it was slow. She came back to herself in pieces. First her eyes, focusing on the IV pole like it was a puzzle she didn't remember starting. Then her hands, testing the blanket edge. Then me. She stared at my face for a long second, and the fear there was quieter than it had been in the apartment. Quieter, but deeper. I messed up, she said, voice barely louder than the oxygen hissing. You scared me, I said, because it was true, and because it didn't accuse. I didn't know what was happening. She nodded, a tiny movement that cost her. I smelled it, the metal. Remembered what Jonas said, and I thought, if I just neutralize it, it'll be fine before you get home. Her eyes closed for a beat. Then my head felt thick, like I was underwater. I knew I should leave, but I didn't want to track it through the apartment. I didn't want to make it worse. And the corner, I asked. She opened her eyes again and looked at the ceiling. I needed something solid, something that wouldn't move. I thought if I stayed still, it would pass. It was the most Lena answer possible, practical to the point of self-erasure. The doctors explained ozone exposure the way doctors explain things, calmly, with diagrams, with percentages that tried to put edges around uncertainty. Her lungs would likely recover fully. My symptoms should resolve in days. The apartment would need professional remediation. Insurance would argue about it. Life would resume. A social worker asked us questions, with a pen poised like a small weapon. A police officer followed up with a statement that sounded gentler than it felt. We answered. We didn't lie. There was nothing to gain from that. 2 days later, we went home. The building smelled like cleaner and cold air. Fans whirred in our unit, industrial and loud, chewing at the last of whatever had lingered. The dining room corner looked like it always had. No stain, no mark, just paint. We stood in the doorway for a moment, not touching anything. I'll get the windows, I said. I'll sit, Lena said, and she did, carefully, on the couch. She watched me move around the apartment like she was relearning a place she thought she knew. I opened windows. I checked the detector and replaced the batteries, even though the new remediation report said the sensors were fine. I unplugged the purifier and sealed it in a contractor bag with tape until the bag looked like a warning itself. Jonas texted an apology that was long and panicked and too late. Char sent an email full of words like procedure and review. The fire marshal posted a notice that felt like a scar you couldn't see from the street. At night, the apartment sounded almost normal. Radiator ticking, distant traffic, the neighbor's TV. We didn't sleep well. The first night, Lena woke up gasping and sat straight up, eyes searching the dark for a corner that wasn't there. I turned on a lamp. I said her name. She took the inhaler they'd given her and waited for her breathing to smooth. We didn't talk about it until morning. In the morning, she stood at the kitchen counter and stared at the wall for half a second too long. Then she shook her head like she was shaking off water. I should have called you, she said. I wanted to say I should have noticed. I wanted to say you didn't have to protect me. I wanted to say I don't need control to care. Instead, I said, we'll make a rule. She raised an eyebrow. No fixing alone, I said. No quiet corrections. If something smells wrong, looks wrong, feels wrong, we stop. We leave. We call. She nodded. Deal. We taped the rule to the inside of the cabinet with the orange bottles. It looked ridiculous. It worked. Weeks passed. My knee healed to a dull ache that reminded me when the weather changed. Lena's cough faded. The building went back to complaining about parking like nothing had happened. The almost ordinary returned. But sometimes, when I came home and the apartment was quiet, I'd pause in the doorway and listen longer than necessary. I'd check the corner without meaning to. I'd smell the air like a habit I couldn't break. And once, late one evening, the detector chirped not an alarm, just a low battery warning. A single, polite beep. We both froze. I crossed the room and replaced the battery with hands that didn't shake. The green light came back on, steady. We stood there for a second longer than we needed to. Then Lena laughed, soft and surprised, and leaned into me like she was relearning where to put her weight. The apartment settled around us, normal enough to live in, normal enough to believe again.